the film, it deals with a lot of emotions: anxiety, fear, paranoia. What kind of research did you do prior to make sure you accurately get it right on screen?
You know, as far as all that stress and anxiety, the basis for that was just my own life.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, you know, I dig up my backyard and have crazy dreams. It's just, this is a hyperbolized version of the stress I think a lot of people feel in their lives.
Yeah.
You know, Ray McKinnon's character in the film, the older brother, says it. It's like, you take your eye off the ball for 1 minute and it's gone, man. You're screwed. And that's the kind of way I feel. You know,
Yeah.
and, you know, living paycheck to paycheck and being an independent filmmaker, and your destiny is unsure, but you have a beautiful life and you're starting a family and like things are really great in your life. You don't want to lose that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of stress in people's lives comes from the fear of you know, things derailing.
Yeah.
Because there's so many ways, you know, health insurance, you know, job security.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of things out there that now more than ever are a little tenuous.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because yesterday I had to leave a movie because I had like a real bad panic attack.
Oh, really?
And it was just because there's so much going on,
So many
and it's
people.
just like, you know, are we getting enough coverage? I feel like we're not getting enough coverage, and blah blah blah. All right.
Yeah, I know. It's
Sundance is another world.
it's a hard place.
Yeah. A lot of like interval type films, they rely really heavily on CGI, and Take Shelter is very limited on that, and it's more driven by the characters. How did you decide on how much you wanted to use as far as CGI goes, and and making it more character driven?
Right. It's tricky, you know. And what I've been saying today is this is not a CGI film. This is not an effects driven film.
Yeah.
But it's a film that couldn't live without effects.
Absolutely.
And you know, when I was sitting down to write it, though, I didn't have a measuring stick. I didn't say, well, I can only get away with 6 effects scenes, you know, or like the birds can only do this. I really didn't limit myself. With Shotgun Story is my first film. I mean, I knew I was going to make that with my money, with my life savings, and like I knew I had to be very strict with you know, the parameters of production that I was getting myself into. With this film, I unshackled myself a bit.
Yeah.
And then though, but then we had to kind of reverse engineer, you know, how to pull it off.
Yeah.
Luckily though, with hydraulics on board, that kind of started to, we really had to get hydraulics on board before we realized we could pull all this off.
Yeah.
You know, like 80% of this film I know how to do, and confident in my ability to pull off. But we had to have hydraulics on board in order to say, okay, well, yeah, it's worth committing time and energy and money to the rest of it, so that, because now we know we can pull it off.
Yeah, and those guys do really good work.
They really do, and I mean, I can't say enough. I mean, I'm kind of like everybody else in the audience. Like, I'm just kind of sitting back marveling at like what they were able to pull off. And just, from my perspective, not as like a gloating filmmaker, like look what I did because I didn't do it. It's like, I think, yeah, I think like they did some great work.
Yeah,
looks like real clouds.
Yeah, during the floating furniture scene, me and the girl next to me both at the same time, and we go, whoa, and we like looked at each other and started laughing because it was just crazy cool,
and unexpected.
Yes,
at an indie film at Sundance.
Yeah. Just talk about how you did that scene.
Yeah,
it's so incredible.
You know what is incredible about that scene, other than the amazing, incredible visual effects? What's incredible to me is the reverse on Mike Shannon. Basically, so he's holding Tova, our actress, our young actress, and we shot the film over cranes, so in slow motion. And I said, Mike, okay, get on the ground and imagine that it's like you're in an elevator that's dropping. And I'm like, okay. It's on the ground. And literally, like, the veins start popping out of his neck, and his face turns red, and, like, spit starts coming out, and it's like, that looks like he's at 0 G's, man. Like, how does he do that? Like, I marveled at it. The day I saw that in the dailies, I was just like, oh. But to get to the part that you're really curious about, the way we did that, it's all CGI. We shot the den, and we shot a plate shot of the den, and you see the actors interacting from the same angle, and that was the key. I wanted, from that angle, I wanted there to be actors, you know, going in, so you see that same shot, and then they leave that shot.
Yeah.
And then we had that as a plate shot, and one by one, we would roll a few frames, and then we would take a piece of furniture out and roll some more frames until eventually all the furniture was removed from the room. And as they were pulling the furniture out, the guy from hydraulics was taking stills of it from different angles.
Nice.
And then what they did was they 3D mapped that entire room.
Wow.
They said they hadn't done that much work on a single effect shot since Avatar.
That is incredible.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Considering what we were paying. And I got to tell you, the thing we worked the most on, that I was most involved in, was the speed at which it lifted and how and like the physics of it in the air.
Yeah.
Because there were a few different iterations of it that it felt like zero gravity. It felt like, gravity just got turned off.
Yeah.
And that's actually not what it is.
Yeah.
It's actually supposed to be a house that gets, picked up in a tornado and then dropped. And the furniture comes up. And so although that doesn't really play, but that was the impetus behind the physics, of everything. And so like I think there were versions of it where they had some furniture floating up, some furniture floating down. You looked like you were in space all of a sudden. I said, it's not quite that.
Yeah.
It's you reach is it terminal velocity?
Yeah.
So like everything reaches one level, and there's a drift to it, but it's not it's not zero gravity. Mm-hmm. So we went through a lot of timing models on that. But then they skinned it. I think they said it took, and they have like floors of computers, and they said it took like all night of rendering on these computers to even get the first skin on the furniture. But it's those guys, man. They killed it.
Man, okay. So now we're gonna go back to you and the story and everything. Mm-hmm. I feel like Take Shelter challenges dreams, which is really cool. Do you think dreams can predict the future?
I don't know. I guess I always hear that dreams, that it's never what they are, but it's it's always a metaphor for something else.
Yeah.
I could get on board with that. I haven't gone too deep into dream theory or reading about it or thinking about it. And to be honest, I don't really like movies with dream sequences, which is bizarre that I made an entire movie of dream sequences. But yeah, I think your mind keeps going even when you're sleeping, and it's a way to work things out.
Yeah.
And I think it's a healthy thing. You always hear about these people that only sleep 2 hours a night. It's like, I don't think that's healthy. I try and get at least 10 to 12 hours of sleep a night. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I have a 5-month-old child at home, and I don't get any sleep.
Yeah,
but
so you probably don't get any sleep.
Yeah, the mind needs its time, though, to work things out.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that the film is heavy on is faith and trust. Do you want this to be intended more about the family or more about, the end of the world?
Absolutely, this movie is about marriage.
Yeah.
This movie is not about the end of the world. All the reviews that say it's apocalyptic, not really. But I know why they have to use those words.
Yeah.
But no, this is a movie about marriage and communication and ultimately commitment. And commitment to your family, and commitment to your spouse.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the heart of this film is. I set out to write a film about anxiety, and then as I was developing the characters, I was like, no, that's dumb. Anxiety's not really a theme.
Yeah.
It's something we can talk about a lot, and it's something that is palpable out in the world, but it's not a theme for a narrative.
Yeah.
The narrative here is how do you stick with your spouse?
Yeah.
How do you support your spouse? And especially when they don't talk to you, when they don't communicate with you. I was writing this during the first year of my marriage, and I was just thinking a lot about like what makes marriage work.
Yeah.
And the best answer I could come up with was communication.
Absolutely.
And if you look at the main character in this film, his Achilles heel in the first half is that he doesn't communicate his fears. Yeah. And that's where a lot of his trouble comes from.
Yeah.
And when he starts to unload that, the story takes another turn.
Absolutely. Okay. The daughter is very crucial to the finale. And she's deaf. Did you make her deaf and write that finale first, or why did you decide to go that route?
No. The fact that his daughter is deaf was actually, it seemed like a way to put even more stress on this working class idea that I talked about earlier. So if just keeping your life on track is the source for a lot of this fear and anxiety, to have a daughter that maybe has some special needs, and like for health insurance to be such a critical thing in these people's lives, and your health insurance is tied to your job. If you lose your job, you lose your health insurance, then your family's really hurting.
Yeah.
Like those seem to be such real pressures that that's honestly where it started, which maybe sounds a little insincere. It maybe sounds like I was using deafness as a device, but what it ended up turning into was, no, it's a way to kind of intensify this guy's need to take care of his family, and so then by the time he got to the end is what the end is.
Yeah.